It's been said experiences are food for the mind, but it is books that nourish the soul, inspiring the spirit and delighting the imagination. There is perhaps nothing more powerful than a good book. So when it came time to create libraries for Viking, we sought the expertise of London's Heywood Hill, one of the most influential booksellers in the world.
Nicky, what makes for a great bookshop? What are the requirements a bookshop should have?
Very good question. I think a place that is congested with ideas. I think that is the first, most important thing. When you walk in there, you want to feel the sort of density of shelves stuffed full of different writers. And that's how I think about the books on our shelves at Heywood Hill, which is a tiny little shop in Mayfair. We kind of place the books next to each other. I quite like putting people who violently disagree with each other next to them. I think of the writers, I think of the books as actually manifestations of the writers. They're like sort of gagged entities, unable to speak because they're closed, and they only speak when the books are opened. And I like the idea of them being adjacent to each other, the people who really don't get along. And the point about a bookshop is that there's this incredible variety. And so you can choose the people that you want to pick up and listen to and hear from when you read their words, but they might be people you don't agree with. And I think that's the beauty of books and book selling, is a lot of exposure to all sorts of things. A bit like coming on a Viking vessel, there's an exposure to wonderful things on board, but also as soon as you go ashore, every day there's something new to look at and experience. So congestion of ideas, also really good people, helpful people who are passionate.
Knowledgeable people.
Hopefully knowledgeable, but very responsive and attentive people working there. And at Heywood Hill, we've got I was talking with you earlier, around 20 people, more or less, working there. And I think the one thing that all different backgrounds, different sensibilities, nationalities, but the one unifying thing is a devotion to good writing and to physical books, and the importance and power of those things. So it's got to have some life to it, and I like to think it's a little bit of a hub, a little bit of a cultural hub for people. And it's a different experience coming into our shop than going into lots of other environments.
I know what I look for in a bookshop, in addition to the things you just outlined, and that's a comfy chair to sit down on and just flick through a book and just think about whether I'm going to buy it or not.
Well, we do have some chairs, and of course people are very welcome to do that. There was a lady who came in the other day who is perhaps not in the first flush of youth, and she asked for the manager, and she said, could I just need to tell you something. I used to work on this street for MI5, the intelligence agency, British intelligence agency. And she said she'd graduated from Cambridge and had in chemistry, which is the same thing that Margaret Thatcher did. But she'd never, when she came to work in London for MI5, she'd never read a novel, or hardly read a novel. And she told me that in her youth, working on Curzon Street in Mayfair, she would come into Heywood Hill 3 or 4 lunchtimes a week, and the manager would keep a pile of books for her at the back of the shop, and she, over the course of a couple of decades, she read her way through the English canon. Never bought a book, of course, but she enjoyed that.
Nicky, let's imagine I'm a client and I come to you and I say, Nicky, I love reading, I love books. I don't know where to start, but can you build me a library? How does that work? How does the curation process work?
Well, Alastair, the first thing I'd say is yes, we can build you a library. And we work on about 30 projects with private individuals a year, helping them assemble a library, whatever that may mean. It may mean a shelf or two of books. It may mean a room or two of books. And these projects are always passion projects, and they are built around the interests of the individual. And they're often in homes, well, they're always usually in someone's home, and that could be anywhere in the world. So we work often in the United States, often in continental Europe, the Middle East, all sorts of places. And the first thing is that we sit down, as we are now, and look each other in the eye and find out more about you and your own interests. We then just talk about the quality of the books that you're interested in, because the next thing is whether you're looking to collect or whether you're looking to read. And those are related but slightly separate things. And we are an unusual business in that there are three sort of legs to our stool: new books, the latest publications; out of print books, which are affordable 20th century books that are no longer in print, in hardback; and then rare and fine material from, let's say, before 100 years before now and earlier. And so we blend those three together in almost all of our projects, including on Viking vessels, where there's a mix of new books and out-of-print books. And we're always trying to encourage people to collect too. And so there's often some highlights on people's shelves that we put there too. But it all comes down to what you want, and then we respond to that by coming up with a theme.
So it's almost a kind of interview process, and then getting to know the client. And then would you visit the house or the ship or whatever where the collection is destined for?
Usually we do, but the most important thing from our point of view, is the dimensions of the shelving. If there is a library, and from that determines, and whether the shelves are adjustable, determines the size of the books and the depth of the shelves. We'd really like to get into that, and there's often we talk to the people making the shelves. They could be made of wood usually, or they could be made of metal, all sorts of things. There's a wonderful Italian designer who's somebody came into the shop and said, I would like a library like Karl Lagerfeld's library. And I'd recommend anyone Google Karl Lagerfeld's library, and you'll see what an extraordinary space he created. And a client replicated that using very metal shelves so that you can't see them, which was great fun. And we did that inside a mountain in Switzerland. It was a very exciting project. It's that personal connection. We've got to understand what you want, and also you've got to feel confident that we understand that, and then we can start the process.
Nicky, tell me about a year in books subscription.
Alastair, it's our, we like to think it's the world's most personalised monthly book subscription, where we give someone an interview, find out about their tastes, either in person or over the phone or through email, and then we choose books for that person throughout the year. And they actually receive 6 parcels of 2 books throughout the year, tailored to their interests. And it begins a dialogue with us. And it's an extremely popular gift all around the world. And we're very, very proud of it. And it's hugely important to our business. And it brings to life the idea of having a bookshop in your life, even though you may not be close to it. I think you were a recipient of
I have been the beneficiary of
Yeah.
the Year in Books subscription, and it was offered to me very kindly by Viking, and as a sort of thank you. And as I told you, I live in rural France. I'm not near any kind of a decent bookshop, so to get, and they are beautifully packaged. It's lovely. It's almost like it's your birthday every month, you know, and it arrives in your mailbox. And in an era now when the only things in your mailbox are things you probably don't want, really, you know, final demands and parking fines. But so to get a lovely, you know, wrapped with a ribbon and everything book, it's just great. And also the surprise of someone else's choice, based on what I had filled out in the form that you fill out when you know, or you can either let the people in your shop choose, or you can be very specific and say, I want this, I want this, I want this.
It's
And
entirely
that's nice, you have that choice.
entirely up to you. And what's nice is often through the course of the year, people will come to London, even if they started out somewhere in Texas. They might come through Europe. Maybe you're coming on a Viking voyage, and they'll pop in and meet the person who's choosing the books.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
And,
that's really nice.
It's really,
that's great.
It's really sort of personal thing.
Nicky, the future depends on today's children, tomorrow's adults, who are going to be your readers, hopefully in years to come. What are you doing to ensnare children into the wonderful world of reading books?
Well, funny enough, the subscription is the way into books for us, because we have lots of children options, and right the way from newborns up to 12 to 13-year-olds. That's
Newborns, really?
well, I mean, picture board books that
really?
you
Okay.
can chew on, or but really, I think that those early years when a parent is reading aloud to their child is such a special time, and even if the parent gets more benefit from those few minutes of sort of calm when the even little children are listening to their voice, not necessarily, but the voice when being read to is different to the voice when you're being fed or some other purpose.
Yes.
It's got its own rhythm and softness to it, which I think is treasured by parents who do it. And you can't start early enough with that. And then, of course, when you read aloud to your children as they become older, it becomes a very special time and a quiet time in the otherwise busy lives everyone leads. So we think the subscription is a great way for us to nurture the relationship with our shop, with the parents and grandparents or godparents of young children, but then people come in, they bring the children in, and that's really nice too. We've got lots of very warm booksellers who love it when children appear and give them a lot of attention, and so they think of the place as a little bit like a sort of shop for older children who all read Harry Potter. It's a kind of shop you might find in Harry Potter and Diagon Alley. You know, it's a sort of fairly sort of curious place and a bit different, and not like most retail environments. So I think people appreciate the atmosphere of it, and once they like it, they might keep. I'm always meeting people who went there as children and still go there. Yeah.
Nicky Dunne, thank you very much. We're in the middle of a cruise, and I'm taking up a lot of your cruising time when you could be probably having lunch ashore. But thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Great pleasure talking to you, Alastair. Thank you very much.